We're recording.
Thank you, Anna. Um, Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 2024 meeting of the Finance Committee. I will call this meeting to order. It's now 2:01 p.m. I'd like to welcome Councilman Reeves, who is replacing Mark Pelka, both on the council and on this committee. Mark's contributions to both were immeasurable, and I will truly miss his commitment to the work of social equity. That said, Councilman Reeves, welcome, and we are very happy to have you, sir.
Thank you so much. And I had some thoughts about Mark earlier. I'll keep it short. I thank you all for welcoming me and others that have been very nice in helping me get up to speed on the efforts of the council. But I know this work was very important to Mark, and he shared with me the great memories and work and time he's had with you all. So I hope to do my best to fill his impossible shoes.
I think you'll do fine. And with that, I will call the roll. I am President Andrea Comer, Councilman Reeves,
Present.
Councilman Shirley,
Present.
Councilwoman Skyers Thomas, Councilman Walton. We have a quorum. The agenda and other materials were sent to the committee members on Monday morning, so hopefully everyone received them. In accordance with the agenda, we'll begin with the approval of the December meeting minutes. If I could have a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I was not present at that meeting, so
Okay.
I'm not sure that I can. I read the minutes, but I'm not sure I can approve.
That is a good question. This is the time when you wish you had Councilman Gaddis, our parliamentarian, to say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. So let's do this. Let's table the approval. Since I was the only one, I know Councilman Reeves had not joined us as of yet. So we'll table that item. The next agenda item is the FY 2024 budget review. I'll ask Jennifer Stevens to walk us through that document, after which I'll ask that Director Clay provide context to the additional tabs and the narrative. And the committee may recall that I requested a budget narrative to accompany the expense document at the last meeting. Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we've made several changes, and hopefully everybody did receive those changes and budget narratives. We have set and had time to review them a little bit. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Now, we had already done some budget line changes. I did them in November. So when you received your November 30th balance sheet, you were wondering what happened, why did these lines change? And then the last meeting in December had requested a difference, an illustration of what has happened. So that's what I have here on screen. If you see in column B, that's what we had prior to November, before I had made some adjustments to line items. Then we did a revision. And then a few days ago, we went over it and revised a couple more items. Not to confuse you, but it's all on here. We really looked at our outreach marketing spending plan closer and had changed those 2 lines to increase them. This line 20 SCC marketing branding sponsorships. We had first reduced it even lower in November, but this number carefully reflects the spending plan a lot more than we had in the past. We had added things on that we're really going to need to market and brand. We had also, if you go down to our outreach and community conversation, we had increased this line also because we want to do 30 community conversations in total. And we had just budgeted for the 3 and then the 20, no, a 3 and a 7, so 10. Now we're shooting for 30 by the end of this fiscal year. And that's what the difference is. Now, when there is a difference to balance to 5.8 million, we're taking it from community reinvestment funds as a catch-all. So we will know exactly what we can reinvest by the end of the fiscal year. And that's why the number keeps going up and down, because we keep tweaking this as we know the contracts, as we know what programs we're going to do. And hopefully with only about 5.5 months left of the fiscal year, we shouldn't be doing many more changes, if any at all. One more change we did was we had originally consulting services for DIA data collection and research to consult that out, contract that out. We totally removed it because we're going to be hiring staff to handle that. We don't need a contractor, but we did decide we want consulting services for some marketing work in the amount of 90,000. That is an estimate of 15,000 per month for 6 months. It seems a little high, but we did look into it and get our quotes, and that's the high point of it. But it is going to be necessary to get our message out there in market in the next few months. This is going to be starting. So hopefully that explains a little bit. I'm welcome any questions, any concerns, please let me know.
Thank you. So I think my primary question is sort of what is the goal of the market? What is of the marketing? What is it that, and maybe this is probably a question for Director Clay. What are we marketing? What is the message that we are sending?
Good afternoon. So the marketing has to do with the pre-lottery education. So and I don't even know if marketing is the right word, but it is getting out to the public. So one thing that didn't happen in the first round of the lottery was there was no education to the DIA communities. So we are working on putting together an outreach plan, a marketing plan, an information plan to those DIA residents that are interested in applying for the lottery. So that will require us to let them know when the lottery is going to happen, what is the lottery, what's the criteria, what documents you need to collect and gather to put together your application. And then we're also offering boot camps for people to understand the cannabis industry a little bit better. So the state regulations versus the federal regulations, the history of the plant. So we're working with OU to do a 5-week boot camp starting sometime we're shooting for February. So that's what our outreach is about, is giving people the opportunity and information to learn more about the work the council is doing and in what areas as it relates to cannabis and the lottery, and even workforce development as well.
Okay. Questions from my council colleagues? Councilman Shirley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My mic, okay, good, thank you. So my question, Director Clay, is are we, the distribution channels that we are looking to market through will be, could you describe them? Is it mass marketing? Are we targeting particular business types of vehicles? Just give some idea of the marketing channels we are trying to use.
Sure. And through you, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask, Arlene Galindo is our outreach program manager, and she's been working with Christina Diamond on an outreach strategy. So I'm going to ask her to share a little bit about what they've been pricing out and the outreach that they are plan and strategy that they're working on.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So we are going to be targeting several ways. We have quotes out for digital billboards so that we can reach the statewide as a whole. We also have quotes out for targeting local community billboards within the 36 DIAs. So those are the smaller bulletin billboards within the communities and really targeting down to the census tracts of the actual blocks of where we're reaching our DIA communities. We're also looking at transit marketing as well so that we can target the train stations, the bus stations, anything as far as transit, putting out posters and information on those gas pumps where they have the videos on the gas pumps. We're really looking at everything right now, taking in quotes for those. And then also print, radio, digital, and television as well.
Mhm.
So, and we're also not only just doing that with for the pre-lottery, but also a general branding of the Social Equity Council as well, because at that same time, we're also going to be doing the community conversations are going to be going on. We're going to be really, having the surveys again going out. So we're looking at that all together and kind of planning each bubble, as I would say, to market out to those communities. So it's pretty a few different campaigns, but a campaign in one.
Thank you. One follow-up question. And so will these messages point the, I guess, the audience to particular contact? I mean, do we have a, lack of a better term, a repository of information for people who are interested once, to point them
Yes.
to?
Yeah, the messaging will be driving people to our website because, we really want them to see what is available on our website. And then what we will be doing is we're creating lists. We are currently creating lists through a Constant Contact. So when they will be coming to our website, they can also be added onto our mailing list. And then that way we'll start creating we have a few lists now that we are creating, but we really need to get a lot more community members on lists from the DIA community. So we're hoping that we can start creating more lists so that once they're in contact with the Social Equity Council, then they will start getting our newsletter. They'll start getting our messages as they go out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then also our social media. We've gained followers. We went from 0 to followers now. So really putting out social media and getting them on our social media channels.
Okay, great.
And
Appreciate
through
that.
and through you, Madam Chair, just to add, also get notifications about the lottery itself and job training opportunities and programs. So it's the big picture of the work of the council.
And I guess my other question is, what has been the engagement of the outreach committee in terms of this planning and what what you're sort of seeking bids for, and like, has there been a strategic plan around marketing and outreach developed to date, and what has been the engagement of the outreach committee?
I'll let Arlene answer that question. I know we've not had a outreach committee meeting, but I'll let Arlene, she's the liaison.
Yes. So last month we did not have a meeting. We didn't have enough people show up for the meeting, but as far as reporting out the quotes, we haven't reported anything out in our outreach meetings just because we have actively started doing that this month. So, we've obtained our quotes. We're doing our planning right now. So we're really starting our media planning right now as the quotes are coming in. We did get the quotes for outreach items for events that we have coming up, but we did not have any I guess, collaboration with the outreach council because we really haven't met as a group.
And is there a reason? I guess I'm trying to understand. I mean, we have an outreach committee, and I know Councilwoman Gordon, who chairs that committee, had raised the question about, I think she mentioned a plan and wanting to be helpful. So I guess I'm just trying to understand why this work is happening in isolation without involving the outreach committee and at a minimum, the chair.
I would think we would have to talk with the chair. Because we did have the meeting last month, but we did not have a quorum. I think 2 people showed up for the last meeting. And then the previous meeting, we did not have, we had just reported out. I had just reported out because we did not hold the meeting. So I think the last meeting that was held was in October, and that was just right when I started. So just right now, as we're moving along, we're planning things, and I can report those out as we develop them. I know that we had said that we would have an outreach marketing plan by the end of January, which is currently almost done, and working on that. So once that's done, that will be reported to the outreach committee.
Okay, thank you. That's very
And
helpful.
the council as a whole.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea.
That's very helpful. Any other questions from my council colleagues? Councilman Reeves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this actually gets to a question I believe you asked in the full meeting this morning about process around adjusting line items in the budget. And I think Jennifer mentioned not too long ago about how she had made some changes from how the budget was set up prior to November. And I think it changed twice in November and then recently. So I know, and also reading the minutes, I saw this, Mark was gonna dig into this too, but if there is some more that either Jennifer or others can share, I know Executive Director Ray does meet with budget analysts from OPM as well. So if there is a formal process that is followed to make changes to the budget, I think it would be helpful for the committee to understand that process. And if I need to do more digging, I can definitely do that and report back to you all on at our next meeting.
Director Clay, can you speak to the process around this, and I guess with regard to your engagement with OPM? Because one of the things I had been thinking about was, does the finance committee need to have sort of language that speaks to a process? But if there is a process already in place, then that might not be necessary.
Mhm. So there is a process in place where we do meet with OPM. So this adjustment to the budget really came about mainly because the DCP, we anticipate that they will have a lottery. We were asked by the DCP to make sure that we were able to notify the public of the criteria change to the social equity criteria, so to be approved as a social equity criteria. So then we started moving, some monies around. But we do meet and have met with our OPM counterparts, and as well as our DECD counterparts. So everything that we do goes through the DECD and then over to OPM. If we have any specific questions related to any kind of spending, trust me, we will either ask OPM or DECD will ask OPM. So we don't do anything on our own. Everything goes through the DECD to ensure that the process is being followed.
Councilman Reeves, any other questions? Okay, you're on mute, but I think you said you're all good. That's okay.
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Shirley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the sake of clarity, what the changes that were made, were they were driven by what feedback you got from the market? I think that was my understanding. If that's not the case, I'd like to find out what caused the change, but increases, if there were increases in the, was that driven by, getting some feedback from the marketplace, and then you went to your counterparts in the agencies and if you could just explain sort of the step by step what the process actually was in this particular case.
Mhm. So I think the big change was in our outreach and then our contract with Cone Resnick. So in order for a lottery to happen, Cone Resnick needs to be on contract to ensure that there is verification of social equity applicants. So we had to increase, and we just kind of did a um, kind of a rough. We don't have any information about the lottery, so it's very difficult to kind of anticipate how many applications may need to be reviewed. So we went with 100 applications for when we don't know how many license types are going to be issued when and if the lottery happens. So we just did based on the information we had from the first lottery, we added monies there. Once that we looked at that, we also looked at our contract with Oaksterdam University, and we are also looking at doing another accelerator program with them. And then in anticipation again of the lottery, we want to educate people in the areas of workforce development to prepare them for jobs at these cannabis companies that will be opening, and to educate the public about the cannabis industry if the folks from the DIA are interested in applying for the licenses that will become available. So most of our budget revisions are not from the feedback from the community. It's based on the anticipated lottery coming up in this year.
Got it. Yeah. Then what follows, I think, is I'm just trying to figure out how flexible we can be. So if for example, we end up getting a lot more than 100 applications, is the budget flexible enough to, or what's the limit to what we can do? I mean, I guess that's my basic question.
Yeah. So right now, as I see it, we have the catch basin line item for community reinvestment that is in the council's budget. So we do have reinvestment fund monies that are in the fund. We are dropping anything extra in the community reinvestment line, which is, oh, I don't have the number here, but we are dropping everything in there. If we need to add more money, let's say we get 200 applications that have to be reviewed, we can pull money from the community reinvestment that is sort of the special money that we're setting aside for the council to decide if they want to take on a special project with community reinvestment funds. We are also looking at possibly using those funds in workforce development programs. So we're talking now about RFPs to help the colleges and universities create programs once we have conversations with the sector, meaning the cannabis businesses, on what kinds of training programs they need their employees to have access to in order to apply for jobs and or to have upward mobility in the cannabis industry. So are there certain credentials? So we're just about to start some conversations with those sector folks, the cannabis sector folks, so that we can issue the RFPs to the industry folk who can create these programs and training credentials that the cannabis sector folks need.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. So I know this morning, I had mentioned some concerns, and I just want to add some context to my statement or my statements, because I think that perspective is important. Back in 2019, state auditors found that like a state quasi-public agency had spent dollars and acted without clear policies governing purchases and other things, and board members of that quasi-public agency were implicated in that instance, and there was significant fallout. So, as chair of the finance committee and designated state treasurer, my priority is the integrity of both and the fidelity of the fiscal stewardship. And what I heard today, though, is that OPM and DECD are reviewing these expenditures and signing off. So my concerns are greatly alleviated, because it sounds like there are other eyes minding the store. So I feel like we might be off the hook a little bit. So that makes me feel better. So thank you for the clarity.
I assure you, no spending happens without several sets of eyes on it. So, and we totally understand. We have parents, and we always get permission. We know about the auditors, and so we're not that grown yet. So,
And I appreciate that, and it certainly isn't a question of the wisdom. I think, again, if we, having a plan would help me understand sort of why we're making some of the choices that we're making, but more than anything else, knowing that, there will never be the supposition that the council in general, or the finance committee in particular, is not sort of keeping an eye on things. Like I said, makes me feel better.
good. We have even reached out to OPM directly if we had a question on some of the giveaways when we were doing the community conversations, and we went directly to OPM to ask what we could and could not use the funds for, and they were very clear, and we followed those directions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
So if there are no other questions with regard to the review, I think the next item on the agenda is any recommendations to the council, which I had thought I might have one, but given this conversation, I do not.
Chairman Shirley has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. My question is, does the experience, how do I put it? Is there, first two questions. Would the experience of other states be helpful to us in terms of things like, a second lottery, how many people, might apply, et cetera, or the funds necessary to support that? And if so, if that's the case, is there some process by which we can have conversations? I remember the very early stages, we actually had a visitor from, I think, Colorado, come to speak with us, and I thought that their cautionary tales were very helpful. So just asking if we have any lines of communication with other states, or would that be helpful?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't know that having conversations with other states about what the DCP may do as far as the next lottery is concerned, I mean, that would be totally up to them. We do not believe that they will be issuing licenses in all 9 categories. So that's why we felt very comfortable that we would not be required to review more than 100 applications. I think that the number of licenses and the license types that they will issue will be much less than what we had originally. And I believe the number of applications that CohnReznick reviewed in the first lottery was like 130. So we're very close to the number that they reviewed for 9 license types. And I do not believe that they will be reviewing 9 license types at this time. And there will be no cultivator. So a lot of applications were around cultivation, and there will be none of those. So I think we're good as far as having the resources available to review the applications that come in.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And if I can just add, there is an entity called CANRA, which is sort of state regulators. It's an association, if you will, and they meet regularly, and that is one of the ways in which we got information, got the Colorado folks, and they've spoken to. But to Director Clay's point, I think that I wish Commissioner Skyers-Thomas was here, because she could probably speak to how they are working, how drug control is working on the calculus about what needs to happen from a supply and demand perspective, right? Because we don't want to have too much supply. We don't want to have too little. And so, but maybe we can ask our drug control director if he can give us some little insight into their thinking around what will roll out from a lottery perspective.
That'd be helpful if we could.
Sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I apologize for not seeing your hand. The little transcription box
Oh,
was
that's-
covering it.
I got it.
Any other questions or any other business to discuss? Okay, hearing none. Again, Director Clay, Jennifer, Arlene, thank you. Team, thank you all so much for all the information you provided, and to my committee colleagues, thank you for your time. If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a second?
You too.
Second.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
guys.
Take
Thank
good
you,
care.
Director Clay.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.